Okay, perfect. Let's see what slide is up there. Oh, the good-looking guy in the middle. Okay. So, when Manny's message Sunday morning, if you heard it, was a good message. It was basically how words can't describe how inadequate of a preacher he was, right? But words couldn't describe the points that he hit. And so I'm going to try my best, but honestly, words cannot describe what my heart felt on the mission field. And it's not just because I was visiting, my grandkids and my son and my daughter-in-law, but just when I saw the work and I saw the people, Manny has mentioned many times before, and other missionaries, and they come, is that everyone needs to go on a mission trip at least once. And it's good if you go to a third world country because you can really see the need. But the only need that they really need was Jesus. I mean, we saw kids living in grass huts out in the bush in what would be called the jungle, and no shoes, but they were the happiest people you'd meet because they had Jesus. And I can say that, but until you see it, you'll never really understand it. And so what I noticed traveling is that this world is a really big place. It took us 3 days to get there, and we had a lot of layovers. And what I realized also is, as much as we all love America, the world doesn't revolve around America. There's people out there that love the Lord and have a good life and don't know nothing about America. So we went to, and I'm going to just kind of talk a little bit, and then I'm going to sit down and we'll go over some slides, and I'll just kind of explain what it is, what we have. But so we went to the area called Mount Hagen, which is in the middle of Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea is an island right off the coast of Australia. Half the island is owned by Indonesia. The other half of the island is got its independence, and it's called Papua New Guinea. Mount Hagen is in the pretty much the middle of the country. It's a very beautiful country. Nobody's here has been here other than Kelly and Phil have been there. It's a beautiful country, but it's a third world country, and it's people are just dirty, and it's very I don't know what you could say, just not well kept. Okay, so, but in there's the ministries that we were able to be part of. I was able to preach 10 times while I was there. It seems like every other day we were getting ready to preach. We had an experience. I've never preached with an interpreter before, and my son never interpreted while somebody was preaching before. So it was good for both of us. I'll show you one slide of how good it was in just a minute. There was times when I was saying things that he would just look over at me and couldn't, there's no words for him to describe that. So towards the end of the week, the second week, we probably got things so that I wasn't using big words that they didn't have words for. So, but there's a school there in Nebular, and it's Nebular Baptist Church. It's about an hour outside of, maybe about 45 minutes outside of town. It was a church that was started 25, 30 years ago. Brother Phil helped start that church with Brother Wayne, and they have a little Bible school that have a bunch of guys that'll walk 3, 4, 5, 6 hours just to come to Bible school, spend the night, and then they have it Monday, Tuesday. And so I was able to preach there. Kenny teaches a class on Monday there, and Eric teaches a class, but then the local pastors have taken over that. And that's the main thing is the local pastors are really getting involved with that church. Then the second Bible school is a 3-year program that Kenny had started there. It's in Mount Hagen, and it's the Western Highlands is what it's called. So in Mount Hagen, there's 4 main Baptist churches, but the school represents probably at least 10 more fellowships that guys will come in on a bus or they'll come in to walk. and they maybe have a bush church that's 6-7 hours away, or enough that they stay right there in town. And so it's a full curriculum. There's 3 classes on Monday, there's a chapel on Tuesday, and then 3 classes Tuesday night. So it's a full curriculum for a Bible school. But the neat thing about it, and this is not something I've heard from either Kenny or Eric or them, but I heard it from the local pastors. And we had the opportunity the day before we left. We met with the Allens, Matt Allen, who some of you might know. He's been a missionary in New Guinea for 20 years. He was a bush pilot for a long time, and then he started a church in Port Moresby, and now his dad's there helping him. And they asked me, he said, what's going on in Mount Hagen? Because the whole country's talking about the unity that the churches have in Mount Hagen. And let me explain what that means. It means it would be like all the independent Baptist churches that would be in South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida all getting together and fellowshipping. Not just fellowshipping, but having church together once a month and doing outreach together. So the entire country is kind of thinking, like, what's going on in Mount Hagen, all this unity that's going on. And it was good to see them, and good to talk to other people that are saying these things, not just, I'm not just bragging on, the things that my son does. So it was interesting. We had the opportunity to preach 10 times, and we received pineapples for our offering. We received bananas and peanuts. We even received 2 live chickens one time. And so we've got, what's called a belam. If you're not sure, it's kind of like Kelly, just lift up, she got one right there. It's kind of a little purse, but men carry them too. We've got hats and baskets and all that kind of stuff, and the Lord blessed while we were there. So, but we saw men and women, not only in the Bible school but in church, that demonstrated a very genuine desire to learn the Bible and to reach their own people. And so many missionaries go and they start a church, and there's nothing wrong with that. They start a church, but then it never gets turned over to the nationals so they can reach their own people, and then they rely on the missionary to do everything. And it's really good to see that their desire is to reach their own people. And so we also had the opportunity, which was really a pretty neat experience. The day before we left, or while we got there, at that Wednesday, I had asked prayer for Kenny that he was asked to speak at a school. And the school that he spoke at was the principal of that school was the one that Eric got in that big accident with. If some of you remember when Eric got in a big accident, and it was very touch and go whether they were even going to stay in New Guinea over it. But that principal actually invited the Baptists to come and preach their dedication service. So the Baptist pastors in town, they got together and said, well, we'll let Kenny preach it. And it was about 2,000 people. And so it was a great experience. But we also had the opportunity to go to a house cry. And I don't know if Phil ever got the opportunity there, but their house cry is their funerals. And it's a big deal there. We in America, we want to bury our dead real quick and get rid of them. They take a long time to mourn their dead and come, and there's different things that they do. And so the one house cry that we got to go to, it was a relative of one of the Baptist guys there, and I'll show you who it was in just a minute. But so they asked Kenny to preach that, and it was really good because they were very impressed with. They're very impressed with the fact that a white person would come to their country and minister to them. Racism there is non-existent. Okay, we would drive down the road and little kids would come out of the bush and the jungle and they'd scream "Whitey, Whitey," and and we thought it was just a fun thing or something like that. They have no guile when they say that. They're just saying we saw a white person today. That's all they mean. And so they were very honored that somebody would come from a country like America to their country. They recognize that they're a third world country. They're not trying to hide anything or show off anything, but that somebody would come and minister to them there. They're very humble about that fact. And so it's a good thing. One thing that I noticed during their house cry, and they were it was very evident, and it's evident in our lives too, is you only have one chance to build your testimony. And when you're dead and someone's talking about you, while you're alive right now, you have that chance to what someone's going to say about you. And so you think about it just as we're sitting here tonight, what would somebody want? What would you want someone to say about you at your funeral? And so we were able to see that there was 2 house cries. One was a real big one, and one was just across the road from where Kenny lives, because it was just one of the neighbors' relatives, and he got to speak there. Yesterday when I was talking to Kenny on the phone a little bit, texting, one of the pastor's sisters, Pastor Gideon, and I'll show you a picture of him in just a second, his sister died, and they asked him to preach it. So Kenny's got to be the funeral preacher now there. But so we also preached, while we were there in the church in Nebular, they decided to have a combined service, and for their group of people, it was probably about three churches and about 3 fellowships. And when I say fellowships, it's kind of when a guy goes out and just starts a church, maybe in a local area and tribe or a village, and it hasn't flourished to he hasn't been ordained as a pastor yet. So he might have a congregation of 15 or 20 people coming, maybe something like that. So that they all wanted to come together, and we had a great service. And that combined service, Eric was actually able to experience me talking and him trying to interpret. So Eric's a very literal, word-for-word interpret, and Kenny would just try to make it, I guess, more interesting. Because, if you know my son, he's got a sense of humor like his mother. And so he made it a little bit more interesting in that sense. So on Mondays, they have the Bible school in the morning out in Nebular, and then in that evening they come and they have the Bible school completely different, which is representative from about 4 of the main churches that are all together, and then 6 to 10 outside fellowships that all come into Mount Hagen and spend time. Back in 2005, there was a group of men that came. I don't remember. I don't know if any of you were here. Maybe some of you were here. You came, and they came, and they remember every little incident that happened in 2005, and they reminded me of all the things. The biggest thing that they reminded me of was that we had a 100-pound lab, and they didn't get our lab died, and we didn't eat it. So they are right now fattening a dog for Manny and Maria when they come. They are going to have a dog moo-moo. and I'm serious. We've met the guy that's fattening the dog for you, brother. So they have what they call a moo-moo, which is a pig they put in the ground, and they cook it that way. They didn't do anything for us because my wife's a vegetarian, and I'm happy because it wasn't one of the things we did. They usually don't cook the food in the ground as thoroughly as maybe you would at home. So can you imagine pig not cooked thoroughly? So enjoy your dog not cooked thoroughly. Yes. They are already planning everything. So just on that note, Manny's going to preach the National Pastors Conference in Papua New Guinea. So Papua New Guinea, all the independent Baptists all get together once a year, and they have a National Pastors Conference. So the unity there is really, we don't see that kind of, we can't get along with the people that have a church just down the block from us, and they're getting along with the churches in the entire country. So the neat thing about what's going on in Mount Hagen that I heard was at that meeting last year at the Pastors Conference was in Port Moresby, where the Allens are, and they're good. If they ever come to America, we'll definitely have them come in. They're really good people. But Brother Cumulus was one of the guys who came in 2005, and he was here. Again, I'll show you a picture in just a second. But they said it was going to be at his church in Mount Hagen. He's got the nice church in Mount Hagen. It's kind of, nice and modern and stuff like that. And he stood up in front of everybody, and he said, no, Temple Baptist Church will not be hosting it. The churches in the Western Highlands together will host it. And so people just, I can't even understand that myself, but I know that the unity there among the brethren is great. So we also had the opportunity to go out to the bush and preach in 2 different bush churches. One of them where Brother Wayne's mission station was. We preached out there, and the pastor there is Pastor Jack. He was one of the guys that did come here in 2005, and he's still pastoring there. And his 2 brothers were there. We'll look at that in just a second. And then the other church that we got a chance to go preach at was a dirt floor church. The guy he had a real good church, and the Lord burdened him. He was walking 7 hours on Saturday to go over and preach this church, and then the Lord burdened him just to go ahead and move there. And since he's moved there, he's been there about 3 months, and the church is about 25 or 30 people. He's doing very good. The week after we were leaving, he was going to baptize 10 new people. So it was good. Very Catholic area, so they really enjoyed the fact we had questions and answers after I preached about Catholicism and me being a Catholic and different things. So they were very interested in the fact of how to reach the Catholics, and the good questions that we wouldn't even think about. So I also had the opportunity, so once a month they have all the churches there will get together and have church together on a Sunday night, which was neat. Had the opportunity to get together and preach the combined service there. And then the last Sunday we were there, it was kind of like the Brother Cumulus just said, hey, why don't you have your dad preach again? And then all the other churches just showed up to see us, and they gave us a bunch of gifts and all that kind of stuff, and it was good. But we saw some people get saved while we were there, and saw the altars were completely full all the time with people getting right with the Lord, and that's encouraging. That's really encouraging. Kenny translated 8 times while we were there. Eric did it twice, and like I said, we got some funny looks. But the neat thing was also when we were out in the bush, I would say something, then Kenny would translate it into Pidgin, and then they would translate into talk place. There's 800 talk places in New Guinea, and so every village, every tribe or whatever has their own talk place, and it's completely different than Pidgin. So we learned some words and all that. So just a little update. If you've heard Brother Wayne, or if you've heard Brother Wayne talk about the road project that he was part of, we saw that. It's complete. They're just waiting for the bridge to go across the river. So when Wayne first went out to New Guinea, it took him to go from Mount Hagen, where we were, out to the bush where Phil, I don't know if you ever drove out there. It was about an 8-hour drive, 6 to 8 hour drive. Yeah, right now Kenny does it in about 4 hours, and not because he drives fast, because they've paved a lot of the road. Once they build this bridge, it'll be a 2-hour drive. And so, it's pretty exciting. The road project started back in the 40s and 50s after World War II, where the Australians came in and they came to the villages up in the mountains, and they said, you're going to build this road. And they lined up all the men and said, here's some shovels. And the people basically said, we're not going to do that. And they shot the first guy and said, okay, now, are we going to build the road or not? And so then they chained the people together and they built the road. Then the road project ended in 75 when they got independence. And so all these men now, their fathers and uncles and grandfathers, were all part of the road project. So they got together and they said, in honor of our fathers and our uncles and our grandfathers, we're going to finish this road. And they actually cut a road by hand through the mountains. And it's probably, we rode the whole road. It was probably about 15 miles, maybe 10 miles that they did by hand. It took them about 20 years to do it. But they're done, and they're just waiting for, I believe, the Chinese people to build the road or build the bridge. So, when we were there, one thing I noticed, we saw Kenny and we saw the work that he was doing. Eric takes care of the mission home, and he also goes to the jail, and he's part of the school Bible ministry. But we saw that the work there is, we saw Sheila and the work that she does with the ladies. And she cooks for the Bible school, and she does a lot with the ladies in the different churches and stuff like that. And even the kids, they all have their own little thing that they do to help the ministry, all except for Joanna. She's the one in the middle. They call her the Boss Mary. There's no such thing as, Mary means lady in Pidgin. And so if your name is Mary, your name is lady. And so they call her the Boss Mary because she's definitely in charge. So, but anyway, let me just show you a few pictures, and we'll go over that, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about some of the things we saw there as the picture's good. So I don't know if you want to. Can I just hit this button here? Go? That we're good? Okay. Let me just sit down here and make it easier to see. All right. All right, so that's just one, obviously whenever you take a picture of scenery, it never comes out the way it should be, but this is part of what the New Guinea countryside or the bush looks like. It's very mountainous, the valleys are deep, and I don't know if you can see kind of in that area, that's, you can see people's gardens. Those are gardens. Everywhere there's a garden. This is Nebular Baptist Church. This church is the church that, again, Brother Wayne was one of the first ones that he built with Brother Phil. This is that church right there. That's the first church we went to, and it's about 45 minutes outside of town. This is Brother, and I know these are kind of grainy because they came from my phone to this, and so forgive me for the quality of the pictures. But this is Brother Philemon. He's been the pastor there, for 30 years, and that's his house right behind him. That's where he lives. So it's a small little house, and just a faithful guy that's been preaching and has a church right there out in the bush. This is the Bible school in town. Most of the guys in the front two rows, they can speak English pretty well. This is Brother Leslie, Brother Fred, and this is the guy, Brother Jason. He's fattening the dog for you, Manny. And that's Brother Cumulus. He's the pastor of Temple Baptist Church there. So Brother Brad Wells was a missionary there for many years and had a radio station, and he left, and now he's a pastor of a church in Washington, D.C., and he left the radio station to this man right here, Leslie. Leslie was a very big guy with their, basically it would be Verizon Wireless there, that's called Digicel. He would have been in charge of like the entire Southeast. He gave that job up to be the pastor of the church and to run that radio station. So him and his wife she's the one his wife's the one that cleaned the chickens for us. So another, just to, see how many people are there. That's the Bible school that started in Mount Hagen. There's Kelly working in the kitchen, along with that's Brother Leslie's wife, Betty, and just they love to touch you there. They want to feel what the white skin looks like, tastes like, and not taste like, but touch like. So. We right before we left, Kenny said that there was one of the guys from New Guinea said, "Tell your parents, don't worry about any of the cannibals, that he ate the last one." So anyway, so this is me preaching. There was a video. I didn't put any videos in. We have 550 pictures and 97 videos. So I didn't show any videos. If you want to see some videos, you can come to my house and we'll show you some. But this is the first church. This is the church out in Nebular. And so you can see they've got a nice floor. All right, back up. Daniel, help me back up. All right, there we go. Thank you. So this is outreach. This is the marketplace. It's a kind of a stage right there. I didn't video anything in the marketplace because you can't really take your phone out in that market or somebody would steal it. It is the dirtiest, filthiest place on earth that I've ever seen. But that's where a lot of people buy their vegetables and fruits and all that kind of stuff, and you just got to take it home and clean it. But just in this thing, this is probably each one of these men represent a different fellowship or a different work that they're all preaching and they're all doing outreach together. So, I mean, can you imagine us coming together on a Saturday morning with, 8, 10, 20 different churches represented all trying to reach this area? So they're doing a good job. Kelly and Sheila and they made egg rolls one night, and they feed the Bible students on Monday and Tuesday nights. So they take about 3 or 4 hours to get all the food ready together. So this is coffee, and that's the biggest thing there. We stopped on the side of the road just to see. These people will carry coffee from their mountains, or mile 2, 3, 4, whatever, back to the road, and the coffee buyer comes and weighs it and pays them right there for their coffee. So that truckload is a truckload of coffee. So, which we brought a lot back. So this is Kenny preaching at one of the big house cry, and that guy back there with the sunglasses is me, and Brother Cumless was interpreting for me. Kelly was standing on the other side trying to get videos and stuff like that. But some of the videos we got of the house cry it's just unique because of the way they cry, and it's just it's hard to describe. You'd have to hear it. So this is part of the combination service that all these pastors got together. This Brother Leslie and his wife, Brother Fred. He's a church there. This is Exodus Baptist Church right here where we're at. Kenny and Sheila. This is Brother Gideon, and his sister just passed away, and that's his wife. Brother Cumulus, his wife didn't come that night. She's rather sickly, and then obviously me and Kelly, and I believe that's Mac and Patrick, and if Kenny's listening, he's probably going to correct me. So, and there was probably about 3 or 4 more other guys that just, getting a picture together is kind of hard. So, and then obviously there's the boss, Mary. She's always there. So, Brother Cumulus, he's been a pastor there for about 40 years. He's really taken Kenny under his wing and helped him with the language and the culture. And what's the neat thing about it is Kenny is not put himself as the missionary in charge of the nationals, but submitted himself to them. That's what's really helped with the unity among everybody there. So this is Matilda. She loves to hug. She's in charge of the children's ministry, and she just, if you could see Kelly fit really right in with her Mary blouse, and she's had a good time. So this is at Temple Baptist Church, and we're trying to read the Bible. They have a Pigeon Bible. The Pigeon Bible is just like Manny's been teaching on Sunday mornings. It's the second edition maybe. It has some work to be done in grammar and different things. So translating is usually is hard, but they're getting there. They don't have a great Bible, but they do have something that's better than what they had before. The other Bible they had before was a Good News for Modern Man kind of thing. So just going through some revisions right now. This is the church in Nebular, and these are the pastors there and their wives. Obviously, you can see Brother, I think this is Brother Vincent, and I honestly forgot this guy's name. I apologize. And Brother Philemon right there, and their wives. So they were singing at the end. This is basically what translation was a lot like. If you notice, Kenny's looking at me like, "What did you just say?" And I'm looking at, "Well, why don't you just say it right?" So Kelly caught that picture perfectly, and it's just there's words that I learned there that you just can't translate. So so it'll be interesting for when Brother Manny goes there, because I'm sure he's going to get a lot of those looks. So that's me catching a papaya. I just thought to show you something. This is Kenny's house. This is the only picture I really got of his house. And then basically, go back. The back doesn't work. One more. Thank you. All right. So that's his papaya tree, and he just kind of hits it, and I got it. We ate papaya and pineapple every single day, And if anybody ever tells you that pineapple tastes good, you have never tasted pineapple until you eat pineapple there. I didn't believe it. I thought, how can pineapple taste any better than it does now? But does pineapple taste good there, brother? There you go. All right. So another view of the countryside. This is from out in Kauai, where Wayne's mission station was. That's kind of looking from their front porch, what it looks like. And obviously scenery just doesn't, you can't, take a picture and see what it's like. Typical, house in the village, grass floor. They weave the roof and everything like that. So that's what a typical house looks like out there. This was they called the Nebular Pineapple Market. So they're just pineapple lined up here with bananas, and we stopped there, and it was so good that we ate some on the way. This is something it's their drug. This is called betel nut, right there. And if you remember when you were kids, you got that little stick they called Fun Dip. It's like a sugar stick. You dip it in this like seashells here, and you take a bite of this or something like that. I don't know. We didn't do it. And then you stick it in your mouth, and it gives you like a Red Bull high or energy. And everybody's teeth are as red could be, and they're doing this. It's called buai, right, Cal? Okay. So that's their drug of choice there. I mean, so they sell it everywhere, and it's disgusting because there's just red spit everywhere you go.
They smile.
Yeah. So this is us. Yeah, this is us. Obviously, enjoying pineapple. That's what we were enjoying. Right there, they'll cut it open and slice it for you. We did that so many times, and it was so good. Again, just a picture of the countryside. You can see just how beautiful it is. This is the road that we had to go out to the bush on, and that was the good portion of it. So Kelly took some videos, but our iPhone it only shows the truck moving. It doesn't. It has that anti-stable, so it doesn't shake. But anyway, this was one of the good bridges we crossed. That's in very good condition right there. This is another bridge we had to cross, and then there was one that it's a video. You can't even see the road on the other side. It's just water, but Kenny knew where the rocks were, and we got to cross it. This was out in the bush. This is actually Pastor Jack, and Kenny. They call it turning when you interpret or translate. So I preached, Kenny translated, and then Jack did it into talk place. So when you preach an hour-long message, then it's an hour for him, and it's an hour for him, and they don't care because they have no idea what time is. They don't care. This is just a picture from up at the top of where Wayne Station was, and this lady just walking her pig, and so having a good time just in the morning. That's Wayne's house that he built, and this is the second house. That was the original house, and then this is the new house, and you can see the gravity-fed water tanks. There's another one on the other side. All the modern conveniences of home, not for sure. This is Fellowship Baptist Church, and that's the church out in Kauai. That's there, and so that church has been there a while. And that's the church that Wayne started out there. So Wayne started 7 churches. There's 2 still standing. 5 of them have closed down, but they're still. This one's still hanging on, and you can pray for them. This is a bamboo tree, and this has a lot of historical meaning for nobody here, not even me. But this is when Wayne first drove into this village. He packed up his truck right there and had church under this tree until they could build the church. So that's where he would, and people from the village, or they call it a house line because they built their houses on a ridge of the mountain, and for 2 reasons: so it doesn't flood, and so they could see their enemies coming. we started a walk in the morning with just Kelly and I and a couple white kids that were our grandkids. And then by the time we got halfway through the walk, the entire village, all these kids were just so happy. And, you know, they have nothing, but they're just so happy. You just see them. So this is basically, this road is this little road right up here. If it rains, you're parking down here and walking up. So we were able to get the truck up there. Driving out to the road project, we were able to stop at this. This is just a waterfall in the middle of nowhere. And we stopped just to take pictures. You could drink that water actually off to the side here. There's a little spout. Got a picture of Kelly drinking water out of the mountain. And it was just clean and just purified. So these are the Malu brothers. This is Jack, his brother John, his brother James, and then this is Rex. They're all part of the church. This guy just showed up, and he just came out of the bush somewhere and decided to join the picture with him. I have no idea who he was. So he just showed up. So this is the end of the road project, and so if you remember Wayne talking about the road project, this is the road coming from Mount Hagen, and then this all was river on this side, and they've diverted this river so that the water's on this side, and then they're going to build this up here, and then divert the water back over onto this side, and then build a bridge coming like from here all the way over to here. And they said it's going to take about a year, but once that's done, this road going out to Kawadi, where Wayne took 6 hours to get out there on a bumpy road, will take 2 hours on a smooth road. So a big difference, big difference. So when Kenny sent these pictures to Wayne, and he just had tears in his eyes, so how close they are. So this is Kelly and Kenny and me back there. We are negotiating the price for our new offering baskets right here. So these are just, you know, just a street vendor right there, kind of just, seeing people. I was trying to get someone in the pictures to show the red teeth, but nobody wanted to smile. But their teeth are as red as her shirt. This is the church out in the bush. We said that the pastor, and I think the next picture is right here. This guy right here is the pastor. When he got there, this church has only been there 3 months. And that's how big the church has gotten. He's got some good men in the church, and he built this church. And he was walking over this mountain. It took him 7 hours to get here, and then the Lord decided. I mean, he had a good church with a nice house and a good salary where he was, and the Lord told him just to move here. And basically, all this area behind him is all coffee fields, and he got this church, and it's growing real good. And they were real happy for us to be there. And there's Kelly just waving in the background there. So this is just the side of the road going out there. The family just taking a picture. And this is the rest area on the side of the road. We just took a picture because it was kind of funny. Because right from, I'm sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button, Daniel. Help me out. All right, so this just drops completely off. Maybe it goes down about 1,000 feet. I mean, just straight. So if you really are going to use that bathroom, you got to hold on. So, and so Eric's interpreting. This is at the last night we were there, the combined service, and we had a good time and with Eric also. So I asked Brother Cumulus, who was right there. I said, brother, after we were all done, I said, I'm going to ask you a favor. I said, can we get everybody to come up here and take a picture? And he just said to the congregation, he said, Brother Kenny has asked for us to do the impossible. So there's probably another 20 people that didn't get in, but this, I noticed when I was looking at the picture, this guy right here, he sang in a choir. He got saved that first Sunday morning that we were there. He had been coming to church for a long time and singing in the choir, wearing choir robes and everything like that, but just never was saved. This again is Sister Betty and Leslie, Kenny, Sheila, and us. They're just really good people. Leslie knows English very well. He went to school in Australia and everything like that, and pastors that church, and just a real good friend to Kenny while he's there. So this brother Cumulus, he's the one that came here in 2005. He remembers our dog and everything. This is his wife. His one son is there. He's got two sons that live in the States. They both went to PCC. One just graduated and took a job in Virginia, which kind of broke Brother Cumulus' heart because he didn't come back. And then these are his two daughters. I know her name is Candace, but I can't remember this one's name. Kelly? All right. So anyway, and then that's his wife. So. And there's our belums that we got and our hats that they got and gave us gifts, and it was just a fun time. And they're just very generous people. As we travel, this is a picture I just wanted to show you because this is their graves. You know, they're buried to people in the ground, but the more prestigious you are, which is not a word I learned in Pidgin, but they're very open. As we're driving down the road, you can just throw out tracts, and people will come out of the woods or the bush just to see what you've given, and they're very receptive to it at all. So this is what they look like when they're mourning their dead. So this is one of the things there. We took this picture just in town. There was a car kind of off to the side. It was carrying the body, and they'll dress themselves up like that. So I think that's the last picture, right, Daniel? All right, that's it. That's all we had. All right, brother.
Well, amen, brethren. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. That's the Great Commission. And, I was thinking as we were going through those pictures, it's a reminder of this church operation that we have going on here. What we do here as a church, here at Calvary Baptist Church, is more than just what we do within these walls. You understand? And what we do as a church, the better we do it, the stronger we do it, the more faithful that we do it correctly, it allows for stuff like that to happen in other parts of the world. You see, all those churches and all those people that you saw on those slides, they exist because of churches like this that sent missionaries over there. Amen. All those national pastors that he mentioned that have been there for 20, 30, 40 years, they were all led to the Lord by missionaries. Right. You understand? And so you see all these flags all the way around the country. These are all extensions of this ministry right here. And so I'm just saying that to remind you of the importance of what we do as a church, all the little activities that we do. There's a reason for it, okay? We're the church of Jesus Christ. God works through the church. I don't believe in one-man gangs and lone wolves and things of that nature, okay? You see it all through the scriptures. That's why the book of Acts was written in the Bible, so you can see the importance of the local church. And so we are in the business of souls, my brethren. And we need to be mindful of our responsibility right here in Beaufort, South Carolina, right here in the surrounding areas. And, of course, we have folks that travel as far as Georgia that are part of this church. But this low country area, brother, this is our mission field. And the better we do things for the Lord here, the better of an opportunity we give folks like all those folks you saw on those slides to be able to also go forward for Jesus. So let's go forward for Jesus Christ. Amen. Let's do a good work for the Lord. Let's see souls saved right here. I'm very excited about the souls that are getting baptized this Sunday, and that's what it's all about. We got to keep that ball rolling. Amen. If the devil got his way and this church closed up, which is not going to happen so long as we stay faithful. Amen. But if the devil had his way and this church were to close down, churches like this were to close down, we affect stuff like that from happening around the world. Right. You understand? And so I just want you to understand the importance of what you do, because what you do affects this church. And then what this church does affects those folks. Let's all stand. Well, praise the Lord for that good report. Amen. And if you're not saved tonight, listen, it's all about the gospel of Jesus Christ. This is a gospel preaching church. how that Christ died for our sins, was buried, and rose again the third day. That's what we preach, because that's the gospel that the Bible gave us in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. One of these days you're going to die. And the Bible says it's appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. Are you saved? Because if you're not saved, there's only two places after death. There's a heaven to gain and there's a hell to avoid. And the only way to escape the condemnation of hell is through the Lord Jesus Christ and what he did for you on the cross of Calvary. And so if you're not saved, we encourage you tonight, come to Jesus Christ. There's only hope in him. All right? And if you are saved, let's do the best we can. Let's get the gospel out to our community this week. Now, we don't have evangelism lined up this Saturday morning, okay? We do that every other Saturday. But that doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of it, an opportunity that the Lord might give you to invite someone to church or give a gospel tract. Look, we got tons of tracts out there. I just found out we had more. Brother Phil ordered more tracts. Get you a few tracts. Give it to somebody. Leave it at a gas pump. Leave it, wherever. But invite someone out to church. Witness to somebody. Tell them about what Jesus did in your life. All right, let's get the gospel out. Let's close tonight with a word of prayer, and you'll be dismissed. Brother Vince, why don't you pray?
Hey, followers, thank you for the faith followers that you send out from here and that spread your word around the world. Just pray to be with them, keep them safe, give them endurance, and just bless their ministries. And just thank you for what you do, what they do, and just thank you for everything you do for us. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.